Snakes can fly. It's not even a little saying either. Like, there are snakes flying right now, and they look like normal snakes. Which is, why are these snakes flying? That's the question? That's the question in this context. I feel like the question is how. How are the snakes flying? I don't know, am I wrong? They do answer, by the way, and they're like, oh yeah, they sort of just like undulate in the air. Okay, yes, I could see that for myself. I'm not visually impaired at this time. I can also undulate, and yet I don't go gliding through the air and have a sense of flight like Superman. Then they were like, okay, well, it's more of like a controlled fall situation, less of a fly. I think more like flying squirrel kind of thing, less bird kind of thing. And then everyone was like, okay, but they don't really need to undulate to fall. I mean, you can, but you could also just do nothing and you're still gonna fall. And they're like, yeah, well, it's just sort of like their base movement. They're just like used to doing that, so they just do it. And then when you see them going through the air like this, it just looks really crazy.
Imagine this. You're strolling through a peaceful jungle, minding your own business, maybe whistling a little tune, when suddenly a snake flies past your face. Not slithers, flies. I know what you're thinking. Snakes don't fly. Well, guess what? They do. And no, they're not packing tiny jetpacks or riding on the backs of birds. They're using some serious acrobatics to glide through the air like the sneaky little ninjas of the snake world. Let's talk about this wild creature. The flying snake? Or as it's scientifically known, Chrysopelea. Fancy name for a snake that decided one day, slithering is boring, let's take to the skies. First off, they're not really flying like Superman. Okay? We're not dealing with superhero snakes here. Instead, they're gliding, launching themselves from tree branches like they've got nothing to lose, flattening their bodies into a pancake, yes, a flying snake pancake, and then gracefully, or maybe awkwardly, depending on your perspective, floating through the air. Now you might be wondering, why in the world would a snake need to fly? Great question. Turns out the jungle is a dangerous place. Predators everywhere. So, if you're a snake and you need to escape quickly, why slither on the ground like a regular snake when you can take the express route through the air? It's the snake equivalent of ordering an Uber instead of walking. And you'd think with all that gliding, they'd be bad at hunting, right? Wrong. These snakes aren't just gliding for fun, they've turned it into an extreme sport. Picture this. A flying snake spots a frog or lizard chilling on a branch below. The snake casually jumps into the air, flies right over, and boom, dinner is served. Just like that, no slithering required. Oh, and get this, there are 5 different species of flying snakes. Because apparently, one wasn't enough. They all live in Southeast Asia, where the jungles are so dense, it's basically a snake's version of a trampoline park. Every tree, every branch, every leaf is a potential launch pad. Now let's break down the science behind their flying skills, because this isn't just some random snake magic. It's physics, baby. When a flying snake jumps from a branch, it flattens its body to about twice its normal width, creating a pseudo-parachute with its ribs. And just like that, they get lift. I mean, who knew snakes could basically turn themselves into their own glider? And they're not just dropping like rocks either. These snakes are moving. Some of them can glide up to 100 feet. That's like jumping out of a 3rd-story window and casually landing on the neighbor's roof. Impressive, right? But wait, it gets better. While they're flying, they're also wiggling, like a worm doing the wave at a sports game. Scientists think this side-to-side motion helps them stay stable in the air, which is just wild, because I can barely stay balanced on a bicycle. And here we have a snake figuring out mid-air aerodynamics. Can we take a moment to appreciate how overachieving these snakes are? Of course, with great power comes great responsibility. While flying snakes are airborne acrobats, they're still just snakes. No venomous superpowers here. Well, not for humans anyway. They mostly snack on small animals like lizards, frogs, and birds. No human-sized meals, so you're safe from becoming their next gliding target. But how did this happen? How did snakes, which have been crawling around since forever, suddenly decide to take flight? Well, the theory is that millions of years ago, these snakes adapted to life in the trees, and over time, they figured out that gliding was a pretty sweet way to travel. I mean, why crawl down one tree and up another when you can just yeet yourself through the air? Evolutionary efficiency at its finest. Speaking of trees, the rainforests of Southeast Asia are like the ultimate playground for these snakes. With trees growing close together and branches everywhere, it's a non-stop gliding party. And just to add to the fun, these snakes are also amazing climbers. They can basically climb up flat tree trunks like Spider-Man, using their scales to grip the bark. So they're not just flying, they're parkouring through the jungle. Imagine being a flying snake. You wake up, you climb a tree, you glide over to another tree, you have a snack, and you glide some more. Sounds like the ultimate jungle gym, right? And yes, they've got competition in the sky. Birds, bats, and even flying squirrels are up there too. But let's be real, none of them are turning themselves into little flying pancakes. The flying snake has its own unique swagger in the air, and it's not afraid to show it off. So, the next time someone tells you that snakes are boring or that they just slither around all day, you can hit them with some knowledge. Actually, some snakes fly. And then, for dramatic effect, pause and say, "You're welcome." Oh, and one more thing. Don't worry, these snakes are pretty chill. They're not coming for you. They're just out there, living their best flying snake lives, catching frogs, dodging predators, and making every other snake look lazy by comparison. In conclusion, flying snakes are like the surprise party of the animal kingdom. Just when you think you've got them figured out, boom, they're soaring through the air. Who needs legs or wings when you've got a rib cage that can turn you into a glider, right?